You are watching the Star Wars Reporter podcast. May the Force be with you.
Yes, may the Force be with you. Welcome to the Star Wars Reporter podcast, episode number 114. Ugh, 114. Today we're going to be talking about the Acolyte trailer and other Star Wars stuff that we nerd out on, as usual. So before we get started, I just want to introduce everyone here tonight. Welcome back, KyloJen.
Hello.
Whoop, whoop.
And of course, you know him, the guy in the middle. That's Trooper Todd.
Hello there.
And then there's me. Something happened to my head.
I think you lowered your ears or something. Is that what you did? Lowered your ears?
Yes.
I haven't heard that
Like
one
I
in a
told
long
Todd.
time.
You brought back the classics.
I'm hiding the bald spot by pretending this is a fashion choice. Grow the beard long. Anyways, so welcome 114. This is I'm looking forward to talking about this. I'm looking forward that Jen is back because she could educate us old guys on the prequels, the Old Republic, and then some. And I think people are getting tired of looking at us. So it's win-win for everyone. But before we get started, I just want to remind everyone to make sure you subscribe, like and subscribe, because it really helps us. It makes sure Todd doesn't cry.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also follow us where all the kids follow us, except for that Facebook thing. Apparently, that's just for old guys like Todd and I.
I'm there all the time.
And go on over to StarWarsReporter.com where we have much more updated stuff on there than what's on that screenshot. So, yeah. And the more you do that, it makes someone very happy. So, I was going to try to do that myself.
Jen. We're losing Jen. Jen's going down.
Well, it's been fun, guys.
Oh, no, gotta go. That's funny. So we're going to be talking about the Acolyte, but we'll go over a couple of things too. I just wanted to, everyone's favorite non-Star Wars person, wish William Shatner a happy birthday. So from all of us, the Star Wars Reporter, that was on the 22nd, I believe. I'm not sure. He's like 90 or something.
Jeez.
Is it 90 or 91?
90. At a certain point, doesn't really matter. Yeah. So I thought that was funny. Number. Yeah. So always a fan of Star Wars. William Shatner is. The other news I just wanted to touch on is Jen should be happy about this again. It's the return of Episode 1 coming to theaters for the 25th anniversary.
Hooray!
Now, of course, they're gonna have a marathon apparently at the Fandango theaters of all 9 movies.
Wow.
Yes. So tickets are on sale now. Check your local listings. I actually went locally and looked at some of the theaters here, and they have it listed, but it just says coming soon, and you can't buy tickets or do anything. So, they might overlook a lot of us Canucks up here. So
I was gonna say, I think I still have my 3D glasses from when it came out, like 12 years ago or whatever, when they re-released it. I think I still have them. They were like Darth Maul 3D glasses. They were really cool.
Oh, really?
That's really cool.
Did you see the 3D release, Steve, of it? I didn't see it when it came out.
I don't think the 3D came here, or I didn't see it in 3D. I know, geez, I last time I remember watching it was when The Empire Strikes Back came back.
That's okay, because you know what? That was before I flipped you guys on the prequels. That was before
maybe that's it.
Friends. That was before you guys.
I must admit, I turned. I like the prequels, but I appreciate them a lot more now than I did due to our podcast and our breakdowns of the prequels. So, Jen,
I take full responsibility,
and you should.
I think.
Again, I was always a fan, but I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now. So, and actually, just so you know, I was working at a film festival this weekend where I was directing it. So I was directing the live show and directing the live stream. I was working with a bunch of university students, and one was a huge Star Wars fan, and he says his favorite Star Wars movie is Revenge of the Sith. He loves the prequels more than all the other ones, and that's somebody who is. Like he's like 21 years old, and he thinks the prequels are the best of the best. So
I love hearing that.
And I thought you would appreciate the fact that he left. A shout out to Brendan. Brendan, who's a big Star Wars fan, and he says that Revenge of the Sith is his favorite film.
Awesome.
Wow. I mean, he's almost right, but yeah, that's very, very cool.
I was wearing my Empire Strikes Back T-shirt, and I said, "I'm sorry, you're wrong. This is the best Star Wars movie." But no,
I actually watched Revenge of the Sith a couple weeks ago.
yes, I remember you said you were. I think you were texting me. You're watching it.
Yeah. It was like, I'm
You guys
watching
never
this. I
text
can't.
me when you're watching it. Come on.
It's like, I don't know if it was late or not. I don't know if you want to get a text at 12:30 saying, "I'm watching
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith. What are you
Boundaries.
watching?"
Well, Jen's probably wrestling gators anyway at that time, right? So,
Oh, no.
right?
That's
Not
very
all
true.
Floridians.
Oh, they don't. Oh, I assume that's what you guys did for entertainment down there.
I mean, yeah.
Well, we live in our igloos up here, right? So I thought maybe you guys wrestling
It's
your
true.
gator.
That's how I assume we all
We
ice
wrestle
fish.
bears.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're all ice fishing in July.
I find that so funny. I've told Americans how I've never played hockey and I can't even skate. And they look at me like I said, you know what I like to do for fun is kick puppies. You know, they're like, what? How?
I am you.
Yeah,
I
see,
mean, I can ice skate.
I can
See?
I can vouch for Steve. He cannot skate. I know he can.
I
He
cannot
definitely
skate.
can't roller skate. That I know for sure.
Wow.
There's an incident where my family took Steve out roller skating one time, and he was doing a better impression of sweeping the floor than actually skating. So
I remember falling, doing spread eagle
Yeah,
in circles like we were
was
filming it
something.
for a comedy show.
it was
so
full
bad.
send. Full send is what it was.
I don't know what it is. I just can't. I can't do it. But I can do all the other. I can do other sports, just nothing on ice
Blades and
or
wheels,
snow,
yeah.
like skiing or. I just
Got it.
can't do it. But it's too bad because I would have liked to have played hockey and be able to hit someone and be like an angry Canadian. But
Yeah. I went
Yeah, that would've
tubing
been
in the
fun.
snow for the first time a couple months ago. And that
Fun,
was
isn't
really
it?
fun. I had never done it before. And
amazing.
yeah, I went down a hill on a tube. That was
We're-
I see
we're-
what all the hype is about.
Where me and
Very
Steve
fun.
grew up, like in the wintertime, like, for 8 months, you went sliding, and
Yeah.
we used to have things called
It's just
GT
snow.
snow racers, where they're like sleds
Oh.
with a steering wheel, and they were amazing.
Oh, that
Yeah.
sounds
with no
so cool.
break.
With
With
they
no
had brakes.
break.
They had brakes, and they didn't stop though. But, yeah,
They didn't
had
do
brakes.
anything.
No,
That
Yeah, it
doesn't
was-
sound
it
like
was
brakes.
dangerous.
Like it's categorically not.
There actually it was a little claw. If you step on it, there's a little claw. It was a handbreaker first. A little claw would go in the snow and try. It didn't really do anything. You're going too fast.
It was dangerous.
You had to
I think they
lean.
stopped making them because of kids were in accidents all the time. So
Yeah,
yeah,
they
that's
were
when things
amazing.
were fun.
They were amazing.
But so I'll just show.
Oh, Star Wars, right? Yeah, Star Wars.
So we'll be talking about the Acolyte today, and here is here's the first poster that they released. It's funny. I didn't download any of the memes that they made for this, but it's funny. It's really
Actually,
funny. So in an age of light, a darkness rises. What?
I just noticed it now. Like I see this poster before, but I didn't really notice until now. That's not a lightsaber coming out. It's blood streaks.
Yes.
Blood streaks.
That's
Right.
so awesome. That's amazing. Sorry, I think it's awesome.
People were
That's
making
cool.
things like
That's a
they had a
cool poster.
toilet roll and make it look like it was in Taco Tuesdays, you know, and it says something about that's what it looks like. Now this poster is probably a little nicer that they came out with just when the trailer came out. So
It's a little more safe.
it's a little more safe. So what we'll do is we'll watch the trailer together and we'll discuss it. And Jen will school us on old stuff, and we'll just be old.
She has to school me. I don't know the old stuff, so I'm looking forward to hearing how Jen has to say.
Yeah. I'm not sure how much knowledge I have. I have some. We'll see.
Oh well. Sorry, Chrome.
That was your cue to start it.
Hope this Let's hope
Well,
this
one of the-
works. Like I said, I'm old. So let me know if you guys can hear it.
Close your eyes. Your eyes.
It's kind of scattered.
Yeah, it's freezing for me.
Well, this is basically we narrate sort of things. Basically, what's this?
Sorry, I have to stop here.
Okay.
I just have to stop here. Sorry, what's going on?
Well, it's not really playing back for us.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not. Is there no sound?
No sound, no video.
Oh,
Are
Hang on
you
a
seeing
second.
sound and video, Steve?
this is a good.
I think Steve's delayed. I think it's
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm
delayed now.
getting-
Yeah, I can
Oh, yeah. He's cutting out. He's frying his computer.
see it, and hang on. Guys, so let's try the trailer.
Close your eyes. Your eyes can deceive you. We must not trust them. Tell me what comes into your mind.
Life. Balance. I see fire.
Someone is killing Jedi. It doesn't make sense. What happened? I sensed darkness. This isn't about good or bad. This is about power and who is allowed to use it.
What is that?
Oh. Wow.
So that was a look at the Acolyte. 2-episode premiere in June. That's kind of the norm now, right? A couple of episodes.
Yeah.
So, what's everyone's first thoughts?
Well, for one, the first time I watched, I wasn't, they showed the little Jedi in the corner, the female Jedi. Went, is that Carrie-Anne Moss? And sure enough, it is. And I'm so excited for her. I don't know why I'm so excited for her to be in it. I guess I just think that she has the demeanor and the look that can pull off somebody who's a gentle, into them, not into themselves, but is a balanced type person to be a Jedi sort of thing. You look at her Trinity character from Matrix, right? Like, just has to be like that, just calm, cool, I was just excited to see her in it. And I think that she'd be a perfect character for a Jedi Master.
Yeah, definitely.
Plus
And
pretty
the fighting, just
Mhm.
how her
Mhm.
her style of how she's able to, obviously all these actors don't do all their own stunts and everything, but the level of on-screen fighting that she was able to do in all the Matrix and things like that, like kind of choreography, everything that you have to be able to do, like she was able to carry that so well, and it translated extremely well in those movies and stuff. So it's very cool that to see her in something like this, because it's that looks like, from what you can see in the trailer, the kind of fighting styles and things like that that almost look kind of Matrixy, some of the fighting that's happening. So it'll be interesting.
But she has a stern look too. You look at that face on her, right? Like, she's got a serious face, calming but serious.
Mm-hmm.
I just seeing her piqued my interest quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a comment on that. Like, I agree with you. I think that she's great. She was great in the Matrix. When I first saw her, and I thought, oh, okay, I forgot that she was going to be in it. I saw Star Wars Celebration and all that, but the first thing I thought when during the fight scene that was very Matrixy, I kind of felt bad in a way. I kind of thought, it's too bad that she's kind of, it feels like stereotyped into, we need someone who can do some kind of martial arty fight scenes. Let's get Trinity from the Matrix and we'll do Matrix moves in the Star Wars thing. And it's like, I'm sure when she was brought in, she goes, oh, cool, I'm going to be a Jedi and this and that. And they're like, okay, we need you to pull your inner Trinity out and do some Trinity moves from Matrix #4 for us. And she was probably like, cool. And in her head, she's like, ah, you know what I mean? I felt,
Yeah,
I
maybe.
felt it was kind of on the nose Matrix in that kind of thing. And I had thought instead of doing that, she would have used more of the Force or maybe even pulled the lightsaber out instead of kind of like the obvious.
The Matrix fight scenes are almost like force pushing and things like that too, right? I mean, that's the first thing you see her fighting. She force pushes somebody on their toes, they slide, you know, kind of thing. So it's like or she chest pushes them and they slide. I don't know. I thought the implication was that it was a force push, but like that is kind of Matrixy, right? That's kind of the manipulation of the matter around you and everything. So
technically, Matrix kind of copied the Force. So it's you know, like it really it was only really Neo could do all the pushing and stuff anyway, really, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just thought that I understand what you're saying, a little on the nose, and maybe that was the shot that they picked specifically for that, you know, to kind of be like, hey, look, we got Trinity. But like, you know, like,
I'm not concerned with that. I think, any kind of series you want to try and bring in, like most of the trend in Hollywood, you want to try and bring somebody to kind of attract somebody to it, sort of thing. They're taking somebody from a popular cinema, series, bring them to a TV show. I think it's, I'm not offended by or put out by it myself, but I was excited to hear.
It just kind of took me out a little bit for a second, and I felt they're doing Trinity, you know, that poor woman. Because, you know, if they approached what's his name, John Wick, what's his name, Keanu Reeves, and said, we'd like you to come in, but we're going to do a bill kind of thing with you here, you know, it's Ted Theodore Logan. He played Ted, right?
I think it was Ted.
He'd be like, what? I'm not doing that. Or if they like, we want you to have a blaster and we're going to have you fighting the input Star Wars mafia, and because they killed your Loth cat. We want you to go out. Like, I'd feel so bad for Keanu Reeves.
Well, here's the situation. You got to think from a producer that you want to bring somebody who's kind of a veteran of cinema, somebody who can pull off the role, and it's not going to cost you a lot of money, because Carrie-Anne Moss is probably on the cheap, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, she's not a prime headline female actor anymore, so they can probably get the recognition, bring in hopefully some viewership with just her face, and it won't cost her millions and millions of extra dollars. That's my take on it.
Well, definitely.
I love how it set up the trailer. I love the trailer with all the younglings sitting around, Jedi Master walking through, eyes to see you, they're all doing their outreach with their feelings, and what are they feeling, right? Like, I thought it set up really nice, and I feel hope, and I feel whatever, and then it's like, I see fire. Ooh, that sets something up pretty good, strong little start to the trailer for sure. I like all the different aliens and characters, and I kind of like that. Like the little squid kid there, looks like a cockroach face. Is kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny. People, I know, have been joking about it too, where he's like, close your eyes, and all the kids have their eyes closed, and I guess the only alien that they didn't make animatronic face for, he couldn't close his eyes.
I didn't pick up on that.
I just think it's so funny. They're like, I've seen memes where he's like, close your eyes, and he's like, I can't.
I got no eyelids.
So I thought that was kind of funny, where they're like, oh, we'll worry about it later. Like, they should have just had, like practical eyelids, like the little kind of monkey thing we see in the trailer.
And this is a trailer, so it's possible when they made the trailer, they don't have all the visual effects done. So maybe they'll have some CG eyelids on it.
Yeah, speaking of visual effects and everything, this one I was reading wasn't filmed like The Mandalorian and the the Halo set thing. I'm trying to remember what that thing was called, the Infinite Horizon thing. Like this one, they actually use sets. So it's a lot more practical effects. This one's a lot more of that kind of stuff. And then there's also they didn't do a lot of blaster stuff, since this one is set about 100 years before Phantom Menace. For whatever reason, I mean, I think blasters had been invented, but or maybe they just weren't. As I'm just trying to think of how they're doing that, I guess. But there's not a lot of blasters involved in the choreography and the fight choreography. I guess they're doing a lot
Right.
more of that. Very lightsaber heavy, very dueling, kind of that type of heavy thing. Not as blaster heavy from what I was looking at. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, we really haven't had a lot of Jedi stuff in the last couple of series, right? So I know people have said, they kind of miss it, and now they've gone fully the other way, it looks like. So
well, and so in the trailer you have the one person saying that it's about power and who gets to use it, or that kind of thing. And so
right,
it's interesting.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting about where this is set in the time period of Star Wars, right? So you have the Old Republic that falls, and then you have the New Republic that comes out of it. So the Old Republic, which I'm sure you guys know or whatever, but the Old Republic has the schism that happens, which is where you get the Sith from. So like you have your Force wielders and everything, and then you have the schism, which is what happens. There's a whole lot of stuff about that. I'm not actually even sure what's true canon anymore with when Disney bought it. I don't know which parts got kept and which parts went into the ether, but basically that's what happened. And then there was, I think, like the sacking of Mandalore was the official end of the Old Republic. And then the New Republic came out, and that was the Jedi Knights and the Senate. New Republic, and or not New Republic, I'm sorry, High Republic. That's the thing. New Republic is later. High Republic is the thing we're in now, or in this show. So the High Republic, Jedi Knights, Senate, no Sith. That was kind of the whole thing. Is like, so at the end of the Old Republic, they like destroyed the Sith, but obviously, they did. That's kind of the whole thing, but that's kind of obviously what sort of it sounds like it's happening in the show is like you still have those like in the shadows things happening, but you have the new Republic that basically I say New Republic, but I'm saying High Republic. Don't listen to my words. The High Republic that is saying this is the new way of doing things. This is the new, everything is perfect. We're going to solve all of our problems under this new way of doing things. There are no more Sith. Everything's good. And then in the shadows, there's these problems that are lurking, but they're like, no, everything's fine. We don't have those problems anymore. It's like, that's tale as old as time, right? That's at least, in our earthly history, that's the way history has happened and repeated over and over again. So it's just kind of, I think that's probably where this is going, since that's the time period kind of where this is happening. And obviously we know the end of the High Republic. We know that obviously the Sith did come back in a pretty spectacular way.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And we were kind of talking about this before we went live, where the talk is about the canon part of it, right? Because in episode 1, they're like, when they're talking about a Sith and the Jedi Council, they're like, there hasn't been a Sith in a millennium. And it's like, because they've always been hiding in the shadows. So the thought is, at the end of this 8-episode series, in order to keep that secret for episode 1, clearly everyone has to die, right? Like, who knows about the Sith or has seen the Sith? So it'll be interesting. It's kind of like the end of Rogue One. Everyone died.
Or if it's explained away. Because that's the other thing. So if all those people that see that red lightsaber, if any of them survive, and then they're like, what was that? What happened? And if they're told like, it wasn't a Sith, it was a fanatic, it was a religious zealot, that kind of thing. And they're told that, then the lie continues, because that's basically how the Emperor was able to get to where he was. That's how everything was able to, because it was like, oh, that's not really what's happening. No, you don't really need to worry about that. That's kind of,
Well,
that's how
Kind
that
of like
happens,
normal politics, right?
Yeah, well,
exactly.
that's what they say.
politics.
Repeat a lie enough times, people start believing it, right? So
Exactly.
That's very
so
true.
that's it could be that. It could be that, some of those people survive, but they were told that it wasn't a Sith, by someone who either is, in this long line of deception that ends up happening, that was working, that eventually works its way down to the emperor, like that there was continual shadow stuff that was going on, or it's, somebody who didn't want to believe it and just kept their head in the sand kind of thing. There's all sorts of things it could be. It doesn't have to be that everybody dies. I mean, it could be that everybody dies. The whole
So-
bloody lightsaber thing is a little ominous.
Yeah.
I love the bloody lightsaber thing. It's way better than the other poster. I'm sorry if you want me to watch it. Like that's going to entice me to watch that for sure, because that means something bad is going to happen, and I'm interested in something bad happening.
I mean, my whole thing, like the bloody lightsaber, and then it opens on a shot of all the children. It's like, oh,
I know Steve? I know Steve saw.
We've
There's a
seen
new.
that before.
yeah.
Hey,
I was like, wait a second.
Do you remember that? I sent you a picture this week. I think it was. I had a new case of an action figure. It's like all these little body parts. It says Jedi Younglings.
Oh yes.
Revenge of the Sith.
I wish those were real.
I know, right? Little pieces everywhere.
Oh, that's
I know it's
terrible.
grim. It's very terrible, but
It is very terrible, but
it's
I
kinda
can
funny.
laugh about it now.
You're over it now. You kind of healed.
That's like the part of that movie that I have to be like,
It's a dark, twisted thing, and
It
they
is
didn't
very
show
dark.
anything, right? They showed the lightsaber coming out, like you when you look at the picture, going, that's pretty grim what he did.
exactly.
There's no
But that's
coming back from that, right? So
it has to be, and that's the thing that, that's the story that had to be told.
So-
Yes.
and that's kind of, there's so much. I mean, George Lucas borrowed so much from like Earth history, with these stories and stuff like that, with the, the fall of the Roman Empire, like the, all of these kind of different things where you have these stories that we're so familiar with that are just kind of like baked into our DNA, that we know these stories. It's just he took them and he put them in space, so it's just, that's not anything new for somebody to have fallen like that and to feel so justified in all of these things that they're doing and that kind of thing. Like, we're familiar with the hero's fall, kind of thing. It's just that story isn't new. It's just he took it and put it somewhere we'd never seen before.
So, question for you: so the possible rise of the Sith. This is before Darth Plagueis. Plagueis, that's the one taught Sidious. Is Sidious's master?
Yes, it would be
his time,
before.
even?
It would be before Plagueis, I believe.
Oh, Plagueis. Yeah,
I read somewhere where they were saying that Plagueis could be 15 years old right now.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Gotcha.
because Palpatine is what, in his, isn't he's in his 60s or 70s in episode 1?
Is he supposed to be
Is that-
that old? Yeah, maybe.
Or like
With space, so he could be older. Who knows, right?
It's true.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
Sorry,
imagine he'd be in his
I was
60s for sure.
Yeah, probably.
Sidious would probably. But how long ago did he kill Plagueis before he became the master? Like they never really talked about that timeline when he killed his master, and how old was his master?
That's true.
right. Well, you weren't at the opera, were you, Todd?
I was not, and Anakin didn't ask very many follow-up questions.
He really didn't. No.
Like when did you do that? How long have you been using a red lightsaber? Like all these little questions.
Well, he doesn't say like I killed Plagueis. Like
It's
he was
not,
just
yes.
like, it's not a story the Jedi would tell you. Like it's not, like it's a.
Yeah,
To
but
me,
again,
it feels like Anakin knew, like he had to have known, but he was just like,
in denial.
I'm going to ignore that.
It does,
Yeah,
yeah. He
in
is,
denial.
because that's the whole thing. Because he does go to Windu and he does tell him. I think he's, there's the whole thing that happens in the. Because he does reveal to him that he's Sith or whatever. He has the Sith knowledge. He says, "I can
Yes.
teach you," or whatever. That's right.
Yes.
He does.
Yes.
Okay. And he does
Like, that's what
say,
I'm
like, I
saying.
have that knowledge or whatever. And then he does go to Windu, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, no,
Now I know Anakin respects Sidious. I know his name's not Sidious. I can't remember his name.
Palpatine.
Palpatine. Thank you.
Yeah.
I still think I would ask a follow-up question. Just my
Yeah,
curiosity
for
got me.
sure.
Said, "Hey, you know what?" I think I just asked some follow-up questions.
yeah."
Yeah. I mean, I thought Hayden Christensen was doing a good job there. Like, it just seemed like every time you saw him at a certain point, you could see just torment in his eyes, right? Like he was almost sometimes like his eyes were teared up a little bit. It was just like frustration and kind of anger and everyone knows everything that's going on except for him, and I think that just seemed to frustrate him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was being manipulated and used by so many people.
Everyone. I when my daughter, when she first saw, like, she loved Darth Vader, and that was her boyfriend, right? And we'd always joke about that. And then so she saw the whole scene with, Anakin going to the younglings and everything, and she tried to justify this. And well, Anakin's the bad Darth Vader, and Darth Vader's the good Darth Vader. I'll always remember that. She's trying to justify her love for Darth Vader still. And but I always see that in the end now that I know that, there were so many circumstances that turned Anakin into what he turned into, that I'm like, now I'm on my daughter's side, where I'm like, yeah, there's circumstances, and he killed a whole bunch of kids. But
without him beating an
it's such
eye.
a good story.
Exactly. He didn't
Well,
hesitate.
he like knew that he needed to. Like, he so firmly believed that that was the right thing to do. It wasn't like he enjoyed killing kids. It was like, I have to do this. Like, this is the thing that has to be done. Like, the war can't end until I do this. That was his whole thing. It was like, if I do this, I end the war. I end the Jedi, I end the Separatists, and I end the war. That was effectively it, right? That was the mentality. It was
Right. But at the same time, it was a little selfish, because he's like, then I'll save the person that I love.
yeah.
I bet you that was a really, really, really close second for him,
Yeah.
or first. I mean, who knows? It was kind of in the same area, but
Sounds like Anakin was dealing in the absolutes too, possibly.
ooh, naughty Anakin. So yeah, getting back to the Acolyte with the trailer, I'm hoping we're going to see a lot of action fighting. Like, it's going to be that kind of fighting.
Yeah.
Like, I think
like
that
a lot of
people have been
lightsabers.
kind of, yes, lightsabers, right? Everyone's going to be excited. I can't wait to be an adult with with my lightsaber in front of the TV. I mean, not that I would do that.
No, who would do that?
Nerds. So what other kind of standout? Okay, so one of the rumors I heard of the story, kind of like the plot of the story, it's that they're kind of doing a Freaky Friday thing. So the lead actress is playing two roles, a twin. That's the secret. So she's playing a Jedi and then one of the Sith, and then they kind of meet, and it's this battle over good and evil kind of dealio. That's the rumor out there.
Does that feel like a
so
huge...
that's Freaky Friday, right?
Well,
No,
they don't really attack each other.
well,
They
Freaky
don't-
Friday,
but
they
it's
switch
like
bodies.
They switch bodies.
It's-
That's the Parent
No.
Trap. Is the twins.
Sorry, the Parent Trap. Sorry,
Yes.
Parent Trap, not Freaky Friday. Parent Trap. So it's like the
Also
twins that
another
never
Lindsay Lohan
met.
movie. I think
Oh, it was, wasn't it?
it was.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Moving
that's what I
on.
heard the plot is. So that's what I heard the plot's going to be. It's like
Yeah.
the
Oh, I
twins
hope that's
that
not
were
like a big,
separated.
huge, like what do they call spoilers sort of thing. I hope that's not one of the big, huge, because then I'll be quite disappointed. Like episode 6, we find out, oh, they're twins. Oh no.
It would be interesting though for me if they do find a way to work Plagueis into there though. Like, if he is at the end of it the one who somehow is in a position to tell everybody like, oh no, there's no Sith. That kind of thing. Like if he's setting the stage for Palpatine, that kind of thing. That would
See,
be
that's why I was
interesting.
that's why I was asking the question. I was wondering if, because again, that'd be it's been name dropped in episode 3. It'd be just kind of neat to see how that got started, sort of thing.
Yeah, or even just seeing him as a child, if his master or something like that is in there somewhere, and is setting the stage for something, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how they kind of work that story out. Like I said, it's almost like it could be a plot hole or whatever they call it. If they just ignore it, it's just going to make people, kind of shake their head or question it. But maybe it could be anything, because the trailer really doesn't show us much of anything.
No.
which
I
is good.
appreciate. I appreciate that. Like no
Yeah.
plot points. This showed some characters. Obviously, there's some kind of like ninja type assassin type person that's after the Jedi. Obviously, it looks like sort of thing, and like, that's all I need to know. And a red lightsaber at the end that went through the trees, cutting the trees. Done. I'm there. On the 4th of June, I'll be watching 2 episodes. That's all I needed. I don't need anything else.
It is really cool to have some Star Wars from that time period too. That is really cool because I mean, there's been like video games and there's been like books and stuff like that, but it'll be cool to see on screen Star Wars from the High Republic era. I think.
Yeah, I would love it if they actually went back, say, 1,000 years, where there was maybe a whole bunch of Jedi and a whole bunch of Sith. It'd be really interesting seeing the dynamic between, the fighting then, or even like the Jedi against the Mandalorians. That'd be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if
now,
one
it seemed to be what's that? Sorry.
I would say if one Sith master can wipe up the whole entire Jedi race, like what would more than one do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because really, Palpatine took out the whole entire Jedi population almost.
Well, I mean, he did it with his brain.
Is he the best Sith of all time? I don't know.
You're using my knowledge here, and somebody is gonna watch this and be like, she's wrong. But I think it was it Darth Bane back at the end of the fall of the Old Republic, who was the one who like overthrew everybody, and was like the one who conquered Coruscant or something, and then the Jedi took it back. And then the Mandalorian sucked it or something like that. I think there was something, but there was like one bad Sith that like did something like that previously. But I don't remember exactly. That's too deep into my brain space there, guys. Sorry.
That's okay. It just piques my curiosity. I know nothing about the Old Republic and stuff like that. I don't play the games and stuff. And I wait for the movies. I don't read books so much. So, any kind of knowledge you can shed on
books
this
are dumb.
Books
well,
aren't dumb, but I'm not a reader.
What's interesting though is it does follow a lot of like it follows a lot of, like I said, earthly history kind of thing. So it does follow a lot of like very similar to a lot of like the Roman Empire thing. So like if you're familiar with the fall of Rome or any of that kind of stuff, like that's like George Lucas borrows very heavily from a lot of those kind of elements of the way it kind of, there was a Senate, it was glorious, it was all of these kind of stuff, and then it fell, and then it came back for a little while, but it wasn't the same, and these kind of different things of those kind of elements, and then also the midichlorians. That's part of the thing that I love to talk about, but it has to do with the state of the Republic and where it was, the whole idea of that even having midichlorians be introduced was like, I mean, this is my own personal.
Tell us about midichlorians, Jen.
Yeah, okay. I was here's the thing. So you have this great and don't make me mainstream cheese. But you do have this main big thing where you're Jedi and the Force and all these things, and they're like this, all the mysticism, right? Like this is the Force, and it's all mystical. But then your midichlorians is this like rational, right? It's that, we're quantifying, we're like, we understand these things. We don't need the mystical. We don't need to understand these kind of things because we can define it. We can put it into a computer and give ourselves a printout. So we don't need the mystical anymore, kind of thing. Like we understand, the mystical on a rational level, which is a state of where the Republic was, right? So like every kind of great civilization kind of goes through that like hyper rationalization, like your Enlightenment period, kind of thing, or something like that, where that's that's kind of the state of the Republic of where they were. So I think that's why it's important, because midichlorians are stupid, right? It's really dumb and everybody hates it. Like I get it, but I think it's necessary because it gives you a good insight into the state of where the Republic was. They were in a hyper rational state, and they had lost their way pretty significantly to the point where they were like, well, we don't need to like talk to this child or spend time with this child to determine if they have some kind of force ability. We're just going to run their blood through a computer and be like, you're good. Like that's like you're completely obfuscating like all of the like the responsibility that comes with taking a child and developing them in their connection to this mystic force, and just being like, a computer says you're going to do good, kid. Like, like that's
it's kind of like what we do now, right? Like I've always said, how they could have fixed this controversy between fans about metachlorians and not metachlorians is they could have, even in a follow-up movie, like even in the sequels or in some of the new stuff they made, they could have said, like, explain the force, because the force is this mystic power that surrounds everyone in the universe. And then they could have said, like what you were just kind of saying, and then there was some Jedi that thought they could measure such a power, and they called it metachlorians, and this is how they tried to explain it in a physical way. But this is what the force, blah blah blah, like George's kind of like original how he would describe it. But it's really cool. I've never thought about it that way, where it's kind of like, we've seen in the prequels, even Yoda said, how the Jedi were kind of lost their way or kind of full of themselves, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I left there. My little stormtrooper guy fell off.
That's what I thought happened.
And he hit a button and kicked me out. So
no!
I didn't leave, Jen. I was very interested in what you were saying.
I thought I was just like boring you.
No, I felt bad. Like, oh no, she's gonna think. My little stormtrooper guy said he fell.
I think that's funny. There was another theme that I was getting from the many interviews or from the Star Wars Celebration regarding this series, where it's this kind of theme I've seen in a couple of new Star Wars projects, where they're where there's no good or evil, right? They're kind of, everything is perspective, and it's like the Sith in this seem to be the underdogs, and the Jedi are kind of like the oppressors, and it kind of has this feeling like, well, even some of the interviews, they were like, the Sith are misunderstood kind of talk. And I'm thinking, remember the good old days when we could all agree on what was good and what was bad?
Yeah.
And it just seems kind of like this whole, like, they were like, I mean, the one actor, I don't know his name, at Star Wars Celebration had said, in Star Wars, there's no good or bad. I was like, have you not watched Star Wars? Things like this. And according to the book, the text, like what are your thoughts on that? Because it kind of seems like, the whole theme is, like nowadays with these Zoomers, is everything is just is like a gray area, right? It's kind of like your perspective or this or that. And I kind of miss the days when we all knew what was good and what was bad, right? Like, like the Empire, you could kind of say is based on, the bad German guys. I can't say the name because I don't want us to be banned anywhere. But can you look at that and go, well, from their perspective, maybe they didn't think that they were doing wrong. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I get that kind of feeling.
No, you can play devil's advocate, and you can say that they did bring order, that like totalitarianism regime, kind of thing, that they did bring resources and order and all these kind of things to the Outer Rim planet. You could make that argument that they did improve the lives of these like Outer Rim planets that didn't have access to civilization and stuff. Like, I mean, you could make a really scary argument. I'm not saying you should.
You could,
but you could.
Yes. But I still
but I don't think you should.
Oppressing people and mining every planet from the resources and building a space station that vaporized everybody on a planet without any kind of talking might fall to the bad side. Or
no, I completely agree. Like, I completely agree. I'm just saying, like, you could.
I want to make sure if I'm drawing a graph and I'm going
yeah.
But that's kind
that's true.
Yeah, like that's kind of the people that, like, I think this is in some of the books, I'm trying to remember which one, but that's the thing, is like the people who work for the empire never are hungry. Like, they're always housed, like they're always so there's like those kind of things where they're like, they're able to keep people working for them. Like, that's the whole way that they're able to like spread, is because it's like, well, if you are on the side of the Empire, like, we'll make sure you're not the one that's like under the boot, kind of thing. So it's
Right.
like,
Mhm.
like, I'm not saying you should make the argument again. Like, this is not,
It's
No,
like
no, we
paying,
understand that.
it's like the mob movies when you're paying for protection. Nothing happens to
yeah,
your
yeah,
store. But
exactly. So
who's messing the store? The protection.
so, but the people that are living in that and, don't have any negative, side effects other than like they don't have freedom or whatever, like that kind of thing.
Little
Like,
things
it's
like
like,
that.
yeah, exactly. Like that,
Huh.
that's kind of the thing. So yeah,
Like, if you don't
again,
fall in line, they execute your parents in the streets. That's okay. That's how everybody
that's
falls in line.
okay. Just saying, like, like, I understand what he's saying is like people can make the argument from any perspective that this is okay from this perspective. So, that's kind of like, there is like a little bit of an argument that can be made there, but not, I wouldn't suggest you make that argument. But with the Jedi and good and evil and things like that, like, I think that it's, I guess, like, we could get super in the weeds here on like morality and where does morality come from and all these kind of super
Right.
fun, philosophical
For
questions
sure.
and things like that. But like, I think there is like that basic understanding of like good and evil.
Mhm.
That Star Wars has done historically a really good job of, good and evil. Which I agree with you that it is getting a little neutral, which is kind of difficult and because it is bad guys bad, good guys good. Like, that's kind of one of the charms of Star Wars, watching it,
Right.
it's, you have that feeling. But I think that yeah, there is a little bit of a risk of it going more towards the right now the Sith, this perspective of, they're just passionate, they're just, these kind of like, that is a, I hope that they don't go that way. I hope that it's not the way they
Yeah.
go, but
I find it funny because, that whole argument, and I'm not saying that you're saying that, it's just kind of like when that guy that took over Germany in that World War II time, he did really great stuff for the country with agriculture and stuff. He was still doing terrible things. You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like, there's all that. And there was a quote from George Lucas that I saw. It came up in one of my feeds, and it's like, he says, when I did Star Wars, I said, this is a film for 12-year-olds and it's a kids movie. But then somehow over the years, people have sort of drifted away from that and tried to make it something other than what it actually is. Star Wars is a Saturday afternoon serial for children. People forget what the movies actually are. And I don't think that they should stay as in kind of like a really simple good versus evil thing for 12-year-olds, because adults, obviously, I'm not 12, can enjoy that, right? You can enjoy that with your kids, then your grandkids, and so on. But I kind of like the simplicity of knowing what's good and evil, and then you can get deep into that. But like, this whole everything is perspective and everything's like that, like the whole gray Jedi thing came from
Mhm.
that too, right? They're like,
Yeah.
oh, what if there's a Jedi that believed in both? And they're trying to say that Qui-Gon was like a gray Jedi. He was not a
Yeah.
gray Jedi.
Well, you brought up an interesting that quote. I just want to look at that quote. Like, yes, I agree. George Lucas made it for a Saturday afternoon for kids and stuff like that. But at the same time, there's so many deep lines in there of thematic themes that really is bigger than just a Saturday afternoon cartoon for kids, right? He wouldn't do the prequels. The prequels is pretty messed up when it's master manipulation. Somebody convincing a whole bunch of people to do a terrible thing so he can gain power. It's not a simple, you know what I'm saying? It's a big, huge thing. And quite frankly, like Jen was saying, it's taken from history. That's right. Like everything
Yeah.
that's
Hmm.
happening that we're seeing it happen nowadays, right? Like it's not just in the past, it's still happening today. It's a way that people attempt to assimilate power. Just look around the world, right? Like
Hmm.
it's not far from the truth, which actually sometimes it makes a more compelling story and at the same time horrific story too, right? So it's
Right.
it's touching a lot of nerve centers. And you can see, like
Well,
you watch a movie, go, oh, this can't really happen. But wait a second. Like, even you look at the Harry Potter movies, same kind of similar thing where everything's being manipulated internally and telling people everything's
Right.
okay when it wasn't, right? It's amazing how it's just really shedding light on the history and real world things.
Well, and one of the things that's really cool, I mean, it may have been created as like a 12-year-old, whatever, like you were saying, but one of the cool things about science fiction is lets you explore these kind of themes, right? It lets you explore these different ideas and themes and stories in a world that is wholly not our own. So we can say, well, what would happen if this? What would happen if there were droids? Do they have souls? Do they have this? Like,
Mhm.
can we do like you can kind of have those ideas and those discussions and like, well, does a droid have autonomy? Are they a person? Do they have any like, you can well, like at
Mhm.
what point do they are they their own thing or are they property? Like, this like that's an interesting question. That's an interesting discussion. And like Star Wars has done a good job of like giving personality to robots, and
Mhm.
things like that. So it's kind of even though it's a cartoon or not a cartoon, even though it's for children, quote unquote, like it still
Yeah.
has those elements to it that are a great jumping off points for thoughtful discussion.
Yeah, it's a perfect hero story. I remember reading something years and years ago that because they were saying, when you compare a movie and you say, oh, that's like this and that's like that, you're kind of compare like when Avatar came out, everyone was saying, oh, that's just like Dances with Wolves. That's but in space on this planet. And all these comparisons. And this article pointed out that basically kind of the human story and the hero's journey, you can basically get 16 combinations out of all experiences. So that's why things feel familiar because the foundation or the plot of say a movie in space or fantasy or real world will seem similar because that's kind of the human experience that we've experienced all the time, and that's what we're drawn to in those stories. So that's when things feel familiar. So it's really easy grabbing from history because everything good and bad has happened.
Well, you said
Well, but
16. I thought it was like 7. I thought there were 7 plot lines.
Oh, I
That
thought it
was
was, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
16 is great, but I thought I heard 7, but maybe
it's
Well,
it's
what's
probably
me.
lower.
interesting
You're
though
right.
is that your original movies are your hero's journey, like Luke's story is a hero's journey kind of thing, but your prequels are like Greek tragedy,
Mhm.
kind of thing,
Mm,
because
mm,
it's not a hero's journey. Real, I mean, it's the origins of a hero's journey, but it's not. At the end, your main character makes the wrong choice and he fails. Like
mhm. Yeah.
that's the story. That's the tragedy kind of thing. That's not the. It's a cautionary tale. It's a cautionary
Mhm.
tale into, um, that giving in to um your impulses, kind of thing. Like it's a cautionary tale of not of all sorts of things. It's a cautionary tale of all sorts of things, but it's basically it is like your Greek tragedy story
Right.
first, and then you have your hero's journey kind of thing. So it's kind of it's interesting because it's Star Wars ultimately is a hero's journey, sure, but like it starts out with a
And so
tragedy.
Right.
the sequel trilogy is like a fool's journey for us fans watching it.
It was
Maybe.
a tragedy story.
It's a combo.
It's a
Tragedy, hero's journey,
something.
tragic hero.
I, I was just
Story
thinking of a
sequel
quote
lovers.
in the sequel. This it was a quote that she says here in this trailer, and it just talking on that my original thing was she makes a quote saying something like it's not about the power of the force but who controls it,
Yeah.
like and again this is where they're kind of like minimizing kind of the morality between the light and
Yeah.
the dark and stuff, and I find it weird because it's this kind of the same thing. Like if you I remember talking about this to a friend when The Walking Dead came out and they were introducing the Negan character, and I didn't read the comics, and apparently in the comics it was way worse, like things they couldn't put on TV of how he was, and he was a just a horrible person, and he was pretty horrible in the series, right? Like a great actor, um but then everyone starts like women are in love with the character, and everyone he was like became so popular that he apparently had a redemption at the end to make them all good, and it's just so weird. As a writer I would be so confused. It's like, you guys are supposed to hate this person. Why are you guys like, you know writing what do you call those, like the fan fiction love stories about this guy. You should hate him. What do I have to do to make you hate him? And there's so many villains I see like that nowadays, where they're like, they're supposed to, you can see that they're trying to write them as a horrible, terrible person, but people are in love with them, you know. And you can respect villains, like people love Darth Vader, but you know, things like that. It's just kind of weird to me, and I bet you it's weird to some writers, where they're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do to make people hate someone.
I think there's something that is like instinctively female, of the I could fix him, you know, thing with some of the villains, where it's like you see, like, I don't know about Negan, I didn't watch like Walking Dead, but I think with some villains you see him and you're like, you know, so that impulse is there. Sometimes
that's probably true.
My wife is still trying to fix me, so
yeah, but you didn't kill a whole bunch of young people with a laser sword, so I don't. I know it's a different story. I'll always defend Anakin now about the whole thing, because I think it's such a. Thank you, Jen, for bringing us back. It's such a great story. I just think because it's more fantasy, where the whole Negan thing just seemed more, okay, it's a zombie world, but more real world. And he did such terrible things. I wasn't a big watcher of the show, but I'm like, ugh, like this guy is, I love the actor, but man, he's a terrible character. Like I just want to beat him to death with a baseball bat.
Well, again, I was watching the season where he started, they're transitioning to a character that's, and again, it was a whole him and Rick Grimes character, and because he was in jail, they kept him in jail, and they nursed him back to health, and then he built a relationship with Rick Grimes' daughter, and so that's what helped change his perspective on life, sort of thing, almost like Stockholm syndrome,
right,
sort of thing. So he was in jail all
so
the time.
it was a woman that changed him.
Bingo! Whoa!
Wow. That's
See, then if Luke stayed with Leia, then instead of her going to Han, you know, they didn't know they're sisters, then I'm sure Ben Solo would have been fine, right? She would have fixed
sure. Yeah, he would have been fine. All right, he would have been.
Star Wars. Star Wars needs more women. Is that the?
Yeah, if they could just, well, this series I think is gonna, if that's a thing, I think this series is gonna fix the entire universe, because
there's a lot of women in this one. Yeah,
it's a lot of women. I think there was 2 that I saw, 3. Wait,
well, the bad bounty hunter ninja type person, she's a woman. And she's going after the Carrie-Anne Moss, and also the other leader who's leading the Asian one, who's leading the younglings, right? So she looks like she's gonna be a bad character trying to take people out.
Yeah. I just thought it was going back to Star Wars Celebration, some of the interviews, and this actor had made a statement, I think, about how Star Wars has always been patriarchal, so it's about time that women started, you know, being in the movies or something.
I was gonna say the sequels.
Let me go rewatch that.
Rey was the like main character. Okay.
Princess Leia. Padme. Who else? Padme. Let's go through it all.
Leia 77 was a strong, dominant
she
character.
Really was, and that was
nothing from anybody.
77.
You know, Han, get this. You know,
that was. I mean, we've talked about that in prior episodes and things like that, about like what drew me to Star Wars as a kid, and it was Leia. Like it really, like that was, you know, she was such a cool character and such unlike anything else that I had seen at the time, and it was like, oh, she's awesome. Like I want to be that, you know. That's
she
awesome.
was a damsel being rescued, but then took over.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sort of.
Like,
yeah,
that confidence, that like coolness, that was like that level of
it was rare back then.
Was just
very
everything.
Rare. Yeah.
So
and that was always Lucas's thing, right? So he did that. So yeah, I just kind of, you know, even nowadays, to say that, and again, you know, actors don't have to know, you know, the story of what they're acting in, right? But I just seem like a lot of the actors had never watched a Star Wars movie before, and just made a lot. It was just kind of funny, right? Where it's like, you know, I thought the publicist would hand them a sheet, you know what I mean? Like, okay, you're going to go out on the stage, it's be thousands and thousands of people watching you. this is what's going on in Star Wars. You know, they would research a little bit, but it just thought it was funny because I was watching it. I was watching it at work in my day job, at the corner of my computer, you know, because it was on live, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, wait a minute, what did they just say?
Yeah.
So, but there's a few things like there's no, you know, no good or evil and things like that. I just thought, well, you know, like there was, but if you're like, again, like what we were just saying, you know, they're trying to look at it in a different way or whatever. It's just kind of funny.
Again, it's a whatever spin you put on it, right? Like Anakin really didn't, like Jen mentioned earlier, didn't think he was doing anything bad. He thought he was doing what was best to help end the war, you know, save Padme, all that sort of stuff. So he thought he was doing the right thing. You know, his perspective outside that the zone you're looking at it, you see that
Stupid
maybe
Anakin.
right? So
I mean, so even if you take like, you know, the religious overtones out of it, right? The religious good and bad overtones out, and you look at it and you just say, the dark side is selfishness. It's like pursuing everything that I want with no regard for the life of other people, for my environment, for my community, for, you know, like that is bad. That's dark side, you know, and the good, the light is, you know, how can I live my life in a way that is in the service of other people, that is in the service of my community, that is, you know, being considerate of my environment and the resources around me. Like that's the good, right? And the bad is selfishness. So it's kind of like that's true. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that you could still, you know, distill it all down and have that there is still always going to be a good side and a dark side. And the dark side is I don't care about any of you. I don't care about your city. I don't care about your planet. I want what I want. And that's the end of it. You know, like my people are more important than your people. My needs are more important than your needs. And that's the dark side. That's the dark stuff. And that's the dark stuff in all of us, right? We all have that impulse to selfishness. And I think the light side, what we're called to do, like as people, like what we should do as people is to, you know, try to aim for the good, right? We should try to, you know, think of like, is what I'm doing going to hurt people around me? Is it going to impact, you know, the world in a negative way? You know, and so I think that that's something that Disney can't really take away, right? You can't really neutral that away, like at the end of the day. But
yeah, well said. I mean, that's exactly it, right? And I guess, you know, for me, I hope that's not lost.
Yeah.
You know, in projects, especially if they're trying to be deep thinkers or edgy and stuff like that. I just hope that whole normal thing that we're used to is still there. And, you know, maybe it is. We saw a trailer, and I bet you this trailer is mostly taken from the first half of the first episode. You know what I mean? Like they're so tricky with their trailers now. So maybe they'll get deep, but we shall see.
I'm looking forward to it. Like, you know, I didn't know anything really about Acolytes until recently, and just the first trailer piqued my interest. You know me, I always like to see the rise of the bad guys, and I like to see them behind the curtain of the bad guys, and so yeah, I like that sort of stuff. So I think, again, that poster, realizing that's not a lightsaber blade coming out as a streak of blood, like even makes me more excited. So don't know why, just I like when not that I like bad things happening to people, but again, I just find that really engaging storytelling.
Wow, Todd.
Well, the Jedi, we know the Jedi are good people. If the Jedi are having a tough time, that to me sounds like it's gonna be a really interesting story.
Well, like we said, this will be the Jedi at their peak, so this will be interesting to see how the Jedi are handling things at this point, you know, at the peak in their history, you know, like, because I think really, if we look at it, the decline probably is starting here about 100 years before Phantom Menace. This is probably when they start to get too arrogant. That's probably when they start to get too prideful and all these kind of things. So it's kind of like, this might be that tipping point, you know, of where they stop being selfless and they start, you know, putting their own interests of their own corner of the galaxy ahead of everything else.
Yeah, that's very true. I just want to point this out. I want to show this picture, and I'm kind of torn on this. Like, it's okay, but I'm not sure if I'm down with a Wookiee with a ponytail like that. But
Oh,
Is it a ponytail? That's what's throwing you off. Is the ponytail?
it's
that's
shaved.
that.
His skull is shaved.
I noticed that his skull is shaved.
Oh
It looks
wow.
like, it looks like you, Steve. They
Oh,
saw the pod. So that's what you're a haircut like that for. You're following him.
he's way more handsome, and mine doesn't go in a ponytail like that. I wish I had that much hair to play with, but I just thought it was funny when I first saw the trailer. I'm like, oh, he's got that, that kind of warrior ponytail like Qui-Gon had and stuff like that. I just thought it was kind of funny. I didn't even notice that it was shaved.
I didn't notice that until
I just saw the ponytail.
Where'd you go, Jen?
Yeah.
Observational skills.
I know. I just I'm like one of those 12-year-olds that just go, wow, shiny lights.
She
still
thinks
like
she can
that,
change
I
them.
guess.
I'll make Rose hair back. So that's what she's thinking.
I can fix them.
I can fix them.
That's so funny.
I think that's my favorite thing in the podcast today is that line right there.
Well, when you said it, it makes Jerry Springer make way more sense now.
Way more sense, yes.
I could change him. No, it's very, very true, right? I guess just because you're more understanding and we're or something. Yeah. We're just like, like, I won't say that. But so June 4th it comes out. Of course, the prequels will be coming to theaters, at least in the US, starting May 3rd, I think it said.
Mm-hmm.
Starting May.
All the
well, in Fandango, they said they're going to have a marathon where you can watch all 9 movies at the Fandangos, their theaters. But I know that episode 1 for the 25th anniversary is going to be coming out May the 4th. But tickets are on sale now.
Okay.
Or is it May 2nd? Anyways.
I thought it was May 3rd.
I should know these things. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that, I have a feeling I'm going to be going to see that alone.
Oh, no.
I'll go with you, Steve.
Because oh man, I wish we had like teleporters or something. We just
I know, right?
Pick the one spot and
meet in like Montana. Is that like central for all of us?
Yeah. That would be good. It's better than the weather here. So but that would be fun. I just know that my oldest daughter, after Last Jedi is gone, my youngest daughter was kind of like, she's like anime girl now. And do you know what? I went to see. Yeah, what's going on?
I don't know.
My kids love anime too. My daughter just watched the last Airbender series.
That's a good one, though.
Well, no, I know it is, but she just watched it for the 3rd time in 3 weeks. Meanwhile, she's struggling in university because she's not studying enough. But, makes time to watch 4 seasons in 3 weeks. Maybe that's why you're struggling in your test.
Wow. Wow.
Just maybe.
Yeah,
I'm not a professor, but.
Yeah, I went to see Dune Part 2 recently. And of course, none of my friends wanted to see it here locally. Oh. And of course, no one in this house wanted to see it. So I went to see it at the IMAX. Do you know what I did? I bought 2 seats so no one could sit beside me. And I had all my stuff laid out and I got really comfortable and the movie starting. And the guy behind me would uncross and recross his legs and kick the back of my chair to a point. I kept looking behind, thought I got the point, finally didn't. But okay, I just want to preface this right now. I'm not that guy. I'm not violent. I'm not any of this kind of stuff. But I got so mad. I turned around at one point. It was a good kick, right? He had his legs crossed. I turned around and he goes like, sorry. And I'm like, you keep kicking my chair. And I said something like that. And I think he was on a date, so I didn't want to get all crazy, but I was just like, you're kicking my chair. And he's like, oh, okay. And it wasn't very comfortable. I needed to see that movie again, but it was just but it was such a good movie.
My son saw it.
Such a good movie.
See, I have to watch the first one again because I hated the first one. I thought the first one was terrible. I thought the first one was almost unwatchable. And so
really,
I hated Dennis Villeneuve. I just don't like any of his movies. I hate his style. I hate his end. I hate the endings of all his movies. And I hated the first one. And when it ended, I'm like, whoa, what? I couldn't stand it. Hated it. I'm trying to think. I probably liked Last Jedi better than Dune.
Really?
And I hate Last Jedi, and I really hated them. I hate everything about the movie. I hated the way it looked. I hated the force fields. I hated how janky the fights were. I hate the ships. You know what they're designed after the movie, after the book, but Dragonfly spaceships just don't seem practical, and a planet that has windstorms just makes no sense. That's all. And then the windstorm scene took forever. It's just nothing happened forever. Just I hated it.
I think they were designed that way. From what I understand, Frank Herbert was very environmentalist, so it was supposed to be kind of because Dune, the sun is so hot and the temperature, and that's why they had these kind of dragonfly kind of looking ships. There was all these reasons for it. It got really weird. Like I remember even watching a video. It was like an hour long explaining all the history of Dune just so I could better understand. But the thing that came out when the second one came out, the media was really on this drive of, see, look, George Lucas got all his ideas for Star Wars from Dune. I'm like, what are you talking about? He told us where he got his ideas from, right? The serials, Buck Rogers, the Japanese samurai movies. It was all that too, right?
Yeah. Well, what's super fun is what everyone gets wrong about Dune is that Dune is actually not a hero's journey, which is like the thing that everyone that has tried to make a movie about it in the past, and which is I'm curious what they're doing after this next movie and stuff. But like Paul Atreides is not a hero. Like he does not have a redemption arc. He does not go do the good things. Like he starts, like he he is not a good guy. And that's kind of the point, is like he is a tool of all of these other powers at play. And so like that's kind of been one of the things that hasn't translated well. David Lynch's movie was just a hot mess of a movie.
It was
it has its own charm. But it like that's the kind of been one of the things I think that people have struggled with, like the Dune miniseries and that movie and things like that, because they're like, oh, a teenage boy, of course he's gonna like save the planet. Like
he doesn't. He goes on like a galaxy-wide jihad and kills billions and billions of people.
Exactly. So it's kind of like
the religion based on him takes over and does its own thing. You know what I mean? It's just wild.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like the story. It's a cautionary tale. It's kind of almost like a tragedy instead. Like it's not like, that's kind of one of those things. Is it's something that people get wrong a lot of times about Dune. It's a fantastic book, and I love it, and I love that. It's just it's a great read and it's a great story, but it's not. Like so many people, like I think will read like the first 100 pages and be like, cool, awesome, teenager, does the thing like with the superpowers. And it's like, no, guys, there's so much more.
It's very, very weird universe. And I kind of like some of the visuals and the stuff that weirded me out. And I kind of liked it, like in these new films. The 80s one was weird in itself, but it just I didn't think it doesn't have it kind of like, it's not as inviting as Star Wars, and it's nothing that people are gonna get quotes from, and like I am your father, like all this kind of stuff. Like there's nothing that people are gonna take away from that, because it's very different. So
it's much more like Game of Thrones than Star Wars. That's kind of the thing that I think the closest thing that I would put it to, like
definitely
then but I think people tend to be like, oh, young boy in a desert, like must be Star Wars, but it's really much more about the families and power like than it is about the boy in the desert, But.
Yeah, exactly. But so that's great. Geez, that could be its own talk we should talk about sometime. But this was excellent, episode 114. Thanks for educating us, Jen. There was a lot of good stuff.
Absolutely.
We'll have to talk about this offline as well. This was a lot of fun, and all the time it's Todd that doesn't want you around. I don't know what's up with that. But,
what? I feel more educated after I talk to Jen.
Oh,
I think me and you going back and forth just doesn't help either of us, Steve. Probably.
Anytime, guys.
Because we're like old guys trying to get through it all. Yeah. So, and if you're mad at Todd about that, send hate mail to contact@StarWarsReporter.com.
I did say I hate.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks to everyone who is Thanks to everyone who's watching this, and may the force be with you.